want to thank you for joining us today here at We want to thank you for joining us today here at... Oh, shut up. I'm going to get it. We want to thank you here for joining us today here. So, moving on to our other... to our next... what the hell is this shit again? Moving on to our next... what? As well as the as well as... so that we... Do you think I could do radio?
You had the face for it.
It's... Oh, God, I hate you.
What's new?
Because I need therapy.
Can you tell the difference in the quality of the video?
Unfortunately, yes, you can see your face clear.
What are you doing?
I am standing because I am getting swamp ass.
Dude, the one cheek sneak doesn't work when everybody's staring at you. Did you not notice I increased the size significantly?
No,
oh my goodness.
I'm also dyslexic, Gert.
What?
In.
The system is down. If you have any feedback, other tips and tricks, or topics you'd like to discuss, please send them to us.
Yep, this is how I have to read the show notes.
Hello. Have you ever... It's his fault. Have you ever...
Let's try this again.
Are we live?
Yes.
Have you ever...
can't cut live.
Have you... Would you stop talking? I'm trying to do the hook.
No.
It's the most important part. Have you ever wanted to design your own fictional alphabet? You guys ever wanted to do that?
I have.
See, that's fantastic because strap in because we're going to be talking about just that. And the fact that you have means you actually might have something interesting to share that we're not aware of. So that's good. Hello and welcome, heroes, to the Crit Academy. I am your host, Justin.
I'm your co-host, Ian.
I'm your co-host, Brandon. Hey, I'm back.
We hope to inspire you with creative content that you can bring with you on your next adventure. Brandon, welcome back.
Hi.
He reproduced.
I reproduced. Yes,
He's like an ooze.
We had a baby.
Kid just keeps splitting.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, we had a 6-pound 6-ounce baby boy. His name's Damien, and I love that name, by the way, because when you get that like super Christian old lady, she's like, "Oh, what's his name?" He's like, "His name's Damien." And she's like, "Okay."
Isn't that the name of the son of the devil? That
No.
depends.
That's only
Do I look like?
movies.
That's why I said that's why it depends. Well, congratulations and welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for having me back. I'm so fucking tired.
Yeah, but it looks like you're both tired. I mean, I can't tell through a steel helmet, but Ian's wearing his armored helmet.
Well,
Ian, why don't you tell us about that?
Yep, I went to the Renaissance Fair this weekend and had a blast. Walked out with a helmet.
Walked out with a helmet.
Yep, and he really looks like an honest knight.
Looks like.
Yeah, until it comes off, then the truth of the horror, the horror, monster that you are comes off. So, how about we get into this? Just so you guys know, we are trying something a little bit different. We are, if you're watching live, we will be ending the show after the main topic, and the UTTs will be uploaded later, as well as be separated into 2 podcasts. So our main topic will be part of the podcast, and then there'll be another release that's just on our tips and tricks. That way you can navigate your favorite parts of the show easier.
We're also going to do this completely unscripted for the most part. It's
Yes.
going to be an actual topic talk.
For better or worse.
Mostly worse, I bet. Are you going to wear that the whole time?
We'll see.
All right, so how about we really get into this? Actually, let's talk about some of the reasons why you would want to create your own fictional alphabet. Brandon, you said you've done this, which honestly I haven't, so that's not true. I did it for a puzzle once.
I thought you would have.
I used Cypher, the ciphering where you just move things around a little bit. But
Yeah.
why did you decide you wanted to create a fictional alphabet?
To be honest, it's because, well, when you're in a submarine, it gets really boring. That's the first part.
That's a fair
Secondly,
point.
one of my shipmates, we were running D&D type of thing. It was a choose your own adventure this thing.
Mhm.
He had his own story, and it was really good. Everything had a hook, and all I had to do was just say, "Oh, I want to do this. I want to do this." And there was no rolling or anything. It was just a story he told. And he came across with this alphabet that he had made, this own language. I was like, "That's really cool. I'm going to make my own." So I just made my own.
You just decided that. That's hilarious.
Just because I wanted to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ian, have you ever done anything like that?
Probably. That doesn't seem like something you'd do back in middle school.
Okay.
Probably.
Well, so I'll tell you that the reason I think that creating your own written language is a great aspect of a role playing game, as written languages are everywhere, and they're a very good key to spreading different cultures, right? And we see that even in the player's handbook, where we see the draconic text versus the elven or dwarven script, right? It really stands out quite a bit. And so not only do you get to spread this bit of culture, but it really just breathes life into your world that wasn't there. For me, I think replacing common with your own script would be really cool. That's just me personally, because everyone automatically assumes common is whatever native language you're playing in, which is usually English. And I think that's very arrogant of us. But as I mentioned, the number one reason for me to do this is it makes puzzles and notes far more interesting, don't you think?
It most certainly can.
Like, how awesome would it be if, Ian, you're the only character that speaks Dwarvish, and I wrote out a letter in the Dwarvish script, and only you knew what it said. Like, maybe I give you one written in English and one in Dwarvish, but I pass it out to everyone until they hand it to you, and then you can read it out loud to the party in character.
Oh, that'd be a nice touch.
Don't you think? I think that would be just awesome.
That sounds fun.
And to me, that's one of the things that I think makes that really fun. So once again, tying it to a fictional language that already exists with one thing, most people do their own homebrew. So why not make your own language? Maybe it's your own ancient language, as in the Aragon series, right? Where Christopher Paolini did that. He created the ancient language for it, and that really was a big aspect of that world.
And then there's Tolkien.
Yeah, he created 2 different versions of Elvish, didn't he?
Only 2?
Was there more? I'm not a huge Tolkien fan, so
I just know that he made an Elven language. I know he did multiple versions.
And Dwarvish and Orcish and
And there's a reason why he did that, because it really brought his stories to life, especially when one of the heroes shouts something in that language. You know, once again, I haven't read the books. Don't shoot me. I only read The Hobbit, and I fell asleep, and I was like, this is boring, and never finished it.
That's the most simple one to read.
Yeah, right. But I remember in the movie Lord of the Rings, the first one, The Fellowship, where the elven chick runs into the river and shouts something in Elvish, and I'm like, what's her name?
Arwen?
Sure, go with that. I know every D&D character is crucifying me right now for not reading those books or barely remembering the movies, but I honestly thought it was mostly forgettable. But what?
Nothing.
Talking shit.
Arwen.
Arwen?
If you go by Lord of the Rings, yes.
Yes. What'd you say?
I said Arwen. I was like,
Okay.
is it Eowyn? Arwen.
But anyways, the point is that moments in a story can be you can greatly increase the impact and the emotion just by adding your own language. So today we are going to talk about really easy ways to do this. And man, I'll tell you what, it's easier than you can imagine. So today we actually found on the internet, on Reddit, by I forgot the Redditor's name. I'm sure Alicia will toss it into the comments. But on Reddit, we found a perfect 8.5 by 11 file that has all the rules for making your own language that you can just post right on your desktop while you write.
Neat.
Which I think is really cool. So we're going to break that down.
Huh? You showed us that file. I remember that.
I did. So with that, how about... first of all, I want to say thank you to Crit Nation. I don't remember who shared it for easy reference, but thank you. That's how I found it, and I had to backtrack it. So really, the question is, how do we do this, right? And there's a couple different ways that we can do this. First thing, you have to choose the style of your fictional alphabet. What do you think I mean by style?
Which way do you read it?
Well, that's actually another part.
Flourishes. Is it squared off? Is it sharp like Draconic is? Is it nice and squiggly like Elven?
You know, if you haven't seen Brandon's, what is your calligraphy?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Oh, thanks.
And you're on the right track. The flowing is the next part we're going to talk about. But what I mean by the style is, well, is it hard? Is it rounded? Is it bold? Is it thin? You know, just little things like that can really make an impact on the style. A good example is the Dwarven language. in the player's handbook. It's very blocky, right? There's solid lines, straight lines. That's pretty much it, and they're all kind of just that's it. There's no flowing. There's no flow to them at all. What do you guys think about that?
That does fit the stereotype culture.
Right there, he nailed it. It shows their culture through the way their language is written. So, what do you think the Elvish language looks like?
Windy.
Flowing scripts.
Flowing, right? It probably is all together, rounded tips, big, giant, embellished. I don't know what you call that. A flourish. All those things. And when you customize your language, the style you choose is going to make a great impact and reveal a lot about the culture, which I.
Really, Ian?
Silver Wolf's like, really, Ian?
I made a show to his bonfire yesterday wearing this.
So, what are some other styles besides the two obvious flourish and the blockiness of the two you would think of?
What about Scratchy and Skippy would be something that would remind me of like Goblin or
Oh, that's really good. I like that.
I'm not thinking Morse code.
Morse code, just a bunch of dots and lines. That's a really cool one. That's an interesting style. Because then you got to work how to redo the lines, right? Braille. Wow, that's bad.
Or Viking runes, which are basically just lines.
What's that?
Or Viking runes are just lines because they're chiseled.
Ooh, that's really. Dulcinea says, Ian went to the Ren Fair and came back with a helmet, and personally, I believe it is now fused to his bald skull. That's why it's still on. All right, so the other thing I want to touch on, and I think is a really good style, is pictographs. We see that a lot in Japanese kanji and in hieroglyphics, right? I think hieroglyphics is more pictograph.
Yeah.
I think, but those are two different styles, right?
They're much easier when you know the vowels.
Yes. And now, keep in mind, we're talking about writing, not necessarily language, right? We're not asking you to figure out how to pronounce it all, though you can, right? You can definitely go that route. For me, it's all about writing, because I ain't got time to figure out how to do it. Remember I told you I did the like a cipher, right? Where I basically just shifted the alphabet and then made letters, right? It's very simplistic, but it can look really nice. What are some other styles you guys have seen that are written forms of styles for fictional alphabets?
Dulcinea says that she built a code that was mostly made of triangles as a culture that used it mainly carved into tough stone like granite.
Because it was easier, huh? That would make sense. So that reveals about the culture.
Yeah, there's one. Hoovian.
Who? So like a hoverboard?
Hoovian.
Hoovian?
I think it's called Hoovian. If there's any Doctor Who fans out there, or anyone watching right now, if that's the proper term, I think it's called Hoovian. It's you know how Doctor Who's a Time Lord, and he jumps through time and stuff. His written
spoiler alert.
If you don't know that, you're
like 16 series or whatever.
God damn
seasons.
That's just the modern series.
His alphabet, it looks like clockwork.
Oh, that is cool.
It is.
So it's like circles with like lines in them that are.
In a way, yes. It's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Like one sentence is a circle, and it's got all the wording is inside, and it gets smaller and smaller. Once it's done, you move to the next one.
So it's funny you talk about that. That's a really good example. Have you guys seen Arrival?
Yes.
It's amazing. If you have not seen Arrival, you need to. But the aliens that come, they write in a circle, right? And it's very flowing, but it flows into a circle, which leads into our next thing, orientation and reading is the next way. Because we as English, I don't want to say that because English are proper and Americans aren't, but the way we read in English is from left to right, and that's very straightforward. But you can easily decide you want your language to be backwards. So from right to left. What about up to down? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And as I mentioned in Arrival, they write in a circle, so they read in a circle. Right? So, and the stuff can overlap and everything and intertwine, which I think is really, really neat. So, what are some different ways that orientation and reading flow can make you can use to make a unique fictional writing?
Well, I know I keep everything comics from right to left By accident, because I read so much manga.
So it messes you up.
Yeah.
It's a good one. Reading from the back of the book to the other direction, right? What about you, Brandon? What are some very creative ways we can do orientation in reading?
Page 1 is at the front. Page 2 is at the very back. Page 3 is number 2 in front. Page 4 is number 2 in the back.
I think my brain just broke.
That doesn't take much.
I forget the Pokemon. No, that's a really good one.
What's that?
The unknown Pokemon. They all represent letters.
Not familiar.
Really?
I'm gonna fucking quit
Yeah.
this show. the little black Pokemon.
I stopped playing
And they got the
Pokemon games
eyeball.
when they stopped making Pokemon actual monsters. I lost it. Oh, this is a sword. A dumb idea.
Sword.
Yeah, the sword and shield. Aren't those Pokemon?
Yeah,
stupid,
that
too.
was like
That's a ghost
4 or
Pokemon that
5
has
years
armor.
ago.
That's terrible, too. I also stopped playing when they started making Pokemon look like humanoids.
That's not new, though.
I know. That was... What? Yeah, Rosalia or whatever.
Gardevoir.
Whatever. That Pokemon you have,
Eat
they
shit.
shouldn't look like humans.
You also had James and Mr. Mime way back in Generation 1.
Yeah.
Oh, what about that?
And I hated him, too.
Yeah, so like,
Jinx and Mr. Mime should have been gone. Anyways, the point we're trying to say, orientation and flow should be something that you're considering next. And obviously, up and down, left and right are the most obvious. But I like the idea of diagonal, right? Where you start at the top and you read down in like slash forms. So you get this really interesting flow, which is kind of a mix. You could also do... mixes where the first sentence is horizontal and maybe the crossing sentence, like a crossword puzzle, could be interesting.
There's a movie she saw in physics class, so she can't remember the name, but then she got it from Aliens, which was designed to set on a 3D surface like a cube.
Ooh.
But the researchers attempted to match up the pages on a 2D surface, which therefore made it too long to decode the message.
There
hey,
was what was the movie? It was Contact, I think, did something like that with Jodie Foster, where they had all these numbers and stuff, and it formed a map or an instruction manual, but it wasn't until they looked at it in 3 dimensions that it made sense.
That was probably a movie, yeah.
So that's definitely something you could do. Andrew says circular flow like in Interstellar. I've not seen Interstellar, but circular is definitely a good one. I also think that a really good representation of language is in Doctor Strange flicks when he uses magic. Those aren't just arcane sigils. They're like, they mean stuff, right?
Ideally.
Well, ideally, right? Yeah.
No, I think it's funny because you're like, oh, you can do it in this direction, you can read it in this direction. And my first thought was The Walking Dead, don't dead open inside.
What? I've never seen Walking Dead.
You get it. On hospital doors, the left one says "don't open," and on the right one says "dead inside." But if you read it like we would, it says "don't dead open inside."
I see. Okay.
Nothing. All those various memes that make fun of signs. This place says healthy burgers. No, it says heal thy burgers.
Ooh, what about crop circles?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think that'd fall under like pictographs, wouldn't it?
I guess it would.
But geometry is another one. You see it in Full Metal Alchemist, right? They put in these complex sigils that intermingle and mix and make new meanings, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot you can do when designing your own fictional language. With these simple steps, it really does help a lot, I think. The next thing you want to do is whether it's flowing or it's separate. I think a good example of this is the English language. We write a word, and then there's a space, and then there's a word, and then a space, then a word, right? And that's how we write. But in cursive, we at least we connect all the letters within a word, and then flow into the next word. But who says there has to be a space between them? Maybe there's something else that separates them that's not a space. What are some other ways? What are some other examples of separate versus flowing? And is there another way to do that? I think I've got an idea, but I want to hear what you guys think.
Separate versus flowing. That would be kind of like the alphabet I did. Like I was saying before. It was I can't remember what I called it, but it was you know the machine they put on your chest and you see your heartbeat and it does that spike or whatever?
A heart monitor?
It has an actual name.
Oh, does it? Well, that's what I call it.
But the that up and down, those V's or whatever, that's why I based my alphabet off of, was the up downs. So
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Like A would be 1, B would be up, down, and then depending on the size and the length of the V's, determine the letter. And for
just one continuous flow then.
And for the next word, I would do a loop and then keep going.
That's interesting.
EKG.
EKG.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Thank you for the smarter audience out there that's smarter
Andrew,
than
I'm
us.
giving you a point of inspiration. Good job.
Oh, yeah.
Electrocardiogram or whatever it's called?
Maybe. Electrocardiogram. That might be it. Also, you only give inspiration on failures now. So that's my new mantra. I love it. And I'm going to steal it. So, I do want to say that I think that one of the other interesting ways we can do this is I think blockchain, which is stupid because it has nothing to do with this, but imagine if a paragraph was written with so many words in a sequence. So you can only do 3 words that are flowing. Then you go down a line, 3 words, and then a line, and you go down and you fill a block like a column, but then you have another block right next to it. So you're reading each little column is a paragraph, and you're reading this way, but you're reading top to down first. I think could be really interesting.
Dalcinia, that's very strange trying to think of speaking or writing words without a vowel.
Like I know, like ancient Greek, they have spaces in between each other or punctuations. So.
And no, Andrew, we're not doing UTTs this episode.
No,
we are, but
you won't. They won't be. They'll be on the podcast.
Yeah.
And they'll be posted throughout the week.
Yeah. There's a multitude of reasons to do that, but we've been doing analytical research and trying to change it up to better suit what the data tells us. So,
that's an experiment. We'll see how it goes.
Yep. Yeah. If it doesn't go well, we'll go back. But once again, you got to try new things, right? Can't stay old, otherwise you're going to be boring and everything's going to become tradition and everyone's going to hate it and it's not going to work.
The world changes if you don't change with it.
Right.
You get left behind.
So the other thing that I want to touch on is when you're creating your language, don't forget punctuation. Doesn't need punctuation. What about numbers? You got to create numbers, right? How are you going to count? Unless you just have to write everything out, I guess. What do you guys think? What are some interesting punctuations?
I like Tolkien's punctuation in the Elven writing.
Which is?
I'm trying to remember. When I was in high school and I was like really big in Tolkien, I was trying to actually learn how to write out Elvish. And I remember like certain capitals and certain vowels, like a lowercase e and a capital E look the same, but there'll be 3 dots next to it to indicate that it's a capital or something like that.
Interesting.
I know with ancient hieroglyphics, they would surround proper nouns with a cartouche.
What's a cartouche?
I don't know what a cartouche is.
That sounds naughty.
Can I see your cartouche?
It's a symbol they use in the hieroglyphs. So.
Yeah, I didn't know that. But that's a really good point. So, what?
Dalcinia is why the name of God, aka Yahweh, is spelled that way. YHWY is because vowels are relatively new, and I didn't fucking know that.
Oh, wow. I have no idea. Anyways, so, Thomas says, my buddy is making a language from musical notes and volume tones.
That sounds so cool.
That is so cool. I love that. And I think, and this is just me imagining, but that would be perfect for like a Fae type race who has like a sing-songy voice, right? So everything they do is kind of like a hymn. How cool would that be? And if they're like all from the same clan or group, maybe they talk together as one and it creates like a chorus. Oh my goodness, that would be so much fun. Are you seeing the benefit of creating your own language? As just we're talking about it, we're describing these interesting details that just makes the story visible, vivid in your mind. Think about it. If you're fighting like Goliath, for instance, and you want to write your own language, maybe it's a series of Ian mentioned Morse code. Maybe they're primitive, so they can swing their swords, so they got lines for drawing, and they can stab their swords or their axes right into the ground. And so they got this very primitive Morse code type language.
And that doubles so that you can communicate long distance using drums.
Oh, that is fantastic. So just boom, boom, boom.
Isn't that how smoke signals work?
Yes.
That too.
The little music notes things gave me also an idea. When you're texting somebody, what is the most common issue that happens when you're talking to someone with text?
No intonation.
No intonation, so you can't tell if they're being
sarcastic facetious,
or mad or angry like that. Because when you're reading music, I don't know if you've ever actually had to read music before, But at the
I can't
beginning,
read music.
it denotes its speed, like it's 1/4 notes, 4/4,
Mhm.
eighths, 16ths, or whatever. Those could denote the emotion behind the sentence. Saying the
Ooh, that's
4/4
good.
note is anger, that this person's writing in anger, or this half note can, or way can be, oh, they're happy or something like that. Oh my god, that'd be so cool.
Oh, that sounds awesome. And Ian mentioned the drums, and I think Dulcinea's got a really cool point here. Some things you can't hear. Elephants communicate through low vibration sounds that travel miles, but are literally nobody can hear or feel. Right? That to me is emojis are essentially hieroglyphs. That's funny. In the future, people are just trying to decipher the emoji language. I think that that's a really interesting take on it too, because there's a lot of animals that communicate in different ways. Now, while we're talking about writing, there's nothing that says you can't, turn it into a type of language and you compare it to an animal, right? What if you're fighting a bunch of I don't know, you're the Kenku, for instance, and they don't just communicate via words, but clicks and caws, right? So maybe that translates into a thing like Morse code, right? Something short and abrupt that's easy to get across in battle or in conversation. I think. I don't know.
What do you suppose a mind flayer's alphabet would look like?
Ooh, that's a good one.
So instead of things like, well, they're very telepathic based. They don't speak a lot.
I would say like some sort of color or emotion.
Ah, crap, my nose itches.
Oh, sorry. She's yelling at me because I keep touching my mic. Um. I think. Do you need help scratching your nose?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
I can put something up.
You don't know where his finger's been.
I know.
So, see, that's interesting though. That's an interesting thing because you're right. They probably, if they have to write stuff down, right? Well, they got a hive mind. Maybe they don't. They just have creatures that just store information that they just reach out and pull it from.
Yeah.
Go see Dave. He's the angry one. But that's something to consider when you're creating your languages. Who's it for? And how does it fit into their society?
Maybe the Githyanki use stars for their alphabet.
Ooh.
Because,
Like constellations?
yeah.
That's fascinating. So I would say you could follow along like the cryptograph or the pictograph, except it's just a series of dots to represent star constellations, right?
That would be really confusing and very
Chaotic.
deceptive.
How so?
Because if you don't know what the constellations are, it just looks like a grouping with stars.
Well, imagine how they would write it out. Imagine one page, instead of it going in any sort of design, it just looks like a bunch of dots everywhere, like a star chart.
And each different word is a large group of stars, while the next one is evenly spread out, but stars are smaller to represent a different word or something. I don't know. Depth is what I'm thinking.
I like that. That's pretty cool. What do you think, Ian?
I keep picturing a language where you actually layer the letters on top of each other to form words.
Ooh, that's nice. That kind of reminds me of when Iron Man was inside the cave and he wrote all of his stuff on separate sheets that were translucent, and then it didn't make sense until you overlaid them, and then you got a full picture.
Yep.
I think that's really cool. Andrew's got a really great point, and I like this because it fits the theme. He says maybe elves could have symbols that resemble leaves, trees, and plants because there's enough of them in the world they could represent everything, right? We already know that. Even in our world, that's true. A rose, what does rose represent?
Love?
Love and passion, right? Why couldn't you do that for every sort of like I can see poison ivy plant design being an insult. Like, dude, you're just as annoying and irritating as a poison ivy rash on your butt crack. And it's just like their code for being an asshole, an itchy, annoying asshole. Is there anything else that really you can do? And this sounds like a lot, but it's not really. This is like 5 or 6 steps to making an interesting story. In alphabet, you start with the style, right? The flow. What else did we talk about? Crickets.
Orientation.
Orientation. I mean, it's not. It's so simple. And you can start with your own language. I would start with English. 26. I would just need 26 of them, right? Then I just have to learn or memorize what each symbol meant.
You're probably gonna need 21 actually, since some of the there's make the exact same sound.
Ooh, that's interesting.
I'm
That's
like
also
Q,
what.
C and K and Q.
Yeah,
isn't that
that's an
another-
excellent point.
Wasn't that another point that was on that thing? Like a CH makes that ch sound,
Mm-hmm.
but then you can make an entire letter just for that specific
Just for
sound.
that sound, yeah. But now you're getting complicated because now you're tying sounds to it, right?
Yeah.
And we know sounds, different letters can make different sounds, right?
Well, depends on which alphabet you use too.
Yeah. So
You remember, we were younger, we were kids, we were going somewhere. I think we were going to a hockey game. He looked at my dad and he said, "Ozo Bay," and he said, "Just call me a bozo." And the look on your face said, yeah.
Oh, I do remember that. Oh God, I think it was more than that though, wasn't it? We were watching Short Circuit, and I thought it was Uskre Uye Ozobe, right? I do remember him looking at me wanting to beat my ass though.
That's called a diphthong,
Yeah.
by the way.
The inf is a
So
diphthong.
Diphthong. Giggity.
See, I didn't know that. I only speak bad English, so. All right. Do you guys have any other comments on this? Any other benefits to creating your own language besides that your players can't read your notes if you learn to write in it?
Thomas Kelly says using dance.
Using what?
Dance
Like-
as language.
Like bees.
Ooh, I like that. I think I have to take inspiration from MJ there. The moonwalk. When he like goes on his knees and toes. All right.
Well, to include that actually for something else. Sorry.
Go ahead.
For the one D&D playtesting, they've added sign language,
Mm-hmm.
the common sign language. And if you learn,
I
sign
only know
language-
one sign language, and it involves my middle finger.
Sign language actually is not that hard. When I was working at Extra, I had a book. That's a J, and I read through this book over and over and over again. I was like, okay, this stuff isn't that hard. Like it's taco. Taco.
He just put his arm chopped his hand.
Taco.
That's funny.
It's weird, and there's no the or anything like that. It's a very straight, basic dog caught red ball. There's nothing.
Not
else
a bunch
to
of extra crap.
No, and since we're talking about making different languages using common, what if you have a deaf player who does use ASL and you're speaking with ASL too, and you start using different sign languages that they don't recognize, and they're like, "What's that?" And you say, "Oh, it's a language that your character sees."
Oh, that is amazing. I love that.
That would be really neat. I don't think it'd be very difficult either.
I love the idea of even implementing something like ASL as like the core for the game, because you have somebody that's deaf at your thing, so everyone is doing it at the table the whole time.
I love how we're doing this, like we know what we're doing.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm just
I don't
waving my
think-
hands like a sorcerer.
What I like about it is a lot of things are very basic, like that's tree. It grows up out of the ground.
So he's holding his hand for you in the audience that can't see and running his finger through it and
milk.
wiggling it.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense.
Coffee. Yeah, it's not
What is that?
coffee.
Oh, it's not what I thought you said. All right, so
Hashtag. That's a fucking sign now.
hashtag Crit Academy for life. All right, I
That's
think
okay, they're not
that'll
gonna-
do
they're not
it
gonna
for
hear you
our
say that.
main topic. You gonna say anything?
That's
Something,
fucked
Ian?
up.
Nope.
Okay. Before we close out here on our main topic, I want to take a moment to let you guys know that we're going to do 2 recordings of our exotic equipment perks, one for the podcast and one for the live show. So, exotic equipment perks, our newest Kickstarter, which is based on our weapon perks, which you guys have made our single greatest selling product.
It's true.
And it's amazing. So we've taken it. We've heard your calls for a physical book. So we obviously can't do that on DM's Guild. So we rewrote all the perks. We gave some new perks which fit with the old ones. So you can combine it if you've got both books. And we've also delved into adding perks to our armor. My favorite being the fact that the Lobi armor, the padded armor that nobody wears, if you're wearing it and you go unconscious, somebody, when they do a medicine check, can pull off a part of the armor and use it as a triage bandage. And not only can they roll to stabilize you, but if they roll a 19 or 20, you can spend a hit die and gain that many hit points, which is just
Cool.
awesome. Yeah, it
Dude,
really
my
is
players
awesome.
love that book.
Yeah, well, I'm glad.
So I showed it to them.
We all did. We
They
did
even
good
asked
work
me,
on
like,
that.
what other Crit Academy stuff do you have? It's like, really?
Let me tell you. But anyways, so yeah, if you want to support the Kickstarter, please head on over to rebrand.ly/exotic perks. Please hit notify. If you hit notify me, the algorithms for Kickstarter really likes that and will show it to more people when it launches. So if every listener that's listening to this and watching this does that, it would be really, we really appreciate
Even
it.
if you don't want it, it's just gonna.
Well, of course, everyone wants it, but I know not everyone has the funds, right?
I'm not gonna lie. When I first saw the book, it's like I don't want to include this into my games. It might make them overpowered.
It doesn't.
And then I presented it to my players, and they're having the most fun time ever. Like the repost with the rapier.
Yes.
He used that finally for the first time. He's like, "That's so awesome!" I was like, yeah, I know, isn't it? You dropped an AC from 17 to 12.
Let me ask you something.
Good job.
Are you using it with your monsters? Because if not, you're missing out.
No, I probably
Because you should apply the perks to the monsters as well. Because then the goblins all have different weapons, and they all can have different actions. You're welcome. So, please consider supporting us.
Yeah.
Now we're going to go ahead and do the explanation for the podcast. So, Exotic Equipment Perks, our new Kickstarter, is now live. If you're listening to this on the podcast right now, it is based on our best-selling weapon perks that you guys all made our best-selling product. If you're looking to enhance your game, your players, your monsters, please consider backing it right now today and help bring this project to life. You guys have asked us to make a print copy, and that's exactly what we're trying to do. This does work in combination with the current weapon perks if you've already got it. So please consider backing it today at rebrand.ly/exotic perks. Ellie, you can edit this accordingly. Thank you. All right. So if you'd like to support us, and you can visit critacademy.com, follow us on social media, leave us a review. Come and chat with us in Discord. I know Ian just posted all kinds of awesome pictures of his trip to a Renaissance festival. Definitely do that. And if you want to talk more in depth about the things that we discuss on the show, please do it.
Aye.
What?
Aye.
Aye. Arr! Hey, Ian. Never mind. I think he's already heard that one, so I'm just going to move on. I am your host, Justin.
I'm your co-host, Ian.
I'm your co-host, Brandon. Thanks for listening.
Keep your blades sharp and spells prepared, heroes.